Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wyld. Today we are talking about Red Lobster stealing. So recently I got an email from one of my subscribers, Magnus. Thank you so much for emailing me about this and making this video possible. Now Magnus apparently had a problem with Red Lobster and UberEats apparently with tip theft, which is odd in my opinion because usually a restaurant and a platform considered with tip theft specifically, it's on Doordash and their white label program for X restaurants. Typically Papa John's, Panera Bread, Chipotle, etc. But this time it's on UberEats, which is unusual. And if they have a white label program, I am unaware of it, but apparently they do. So with that said, I want to go over everything that is being said in this article, how it actually is for Doordash, UberEats, and Grubhub drivers, customers, restaurants, and the platform itself, and everything in between. So with that said, let's get started. I was working on delivering a double order on UberEats and noticed that the receipt on this Red Lobster bag looked a little odd. One delivery fee, $4.99. We are used to seeing crap from UberEats. One delivery driver, $6.75. What the hell is that? Are they selling me? Are they stealing a tip for the service they did not provide? I accepted this order to make my trip a double. The offer for Red Lobster was for $5 and change. You can see that the person tipped $3.61 and the fare was probably $2. Red Lobster was my second pickup, but the first to be delivered. So that's why it only shows Panera, not Red Lobster, which makes sense. That's typical Uber to where they only show you the first half. But in terms of selling your services, they typically take a extra charge for Uber specifically, or any of these platforms specifically. Like usually it's a certain amount to offset the charges that are imposed on them. That's always going to be imposed on the customer. It's unusual to see that within the receipt though, so that's interesting. For the customer to tip $3.61 on $45 worth of food leads me to believe that the customer thought I was getting some or all of those fees. If this information fits your content, feel free to use it, Magnus. Well, let's take a look at the receipt real quick. Okay, so shrimp your way, $17. Shrimp your way, $17. Signature seafood mushrooms, $10.99. Delivery fee, $4.99. Delivery driver, $6.75. And the pickup type is dispatch. You see, that's interesting because usually what they do is that they'll either have it as one giant category to go or delivery or whatever, or they'll have it as one name, or they'll have the specific platform on there. That's really unusual for a $3.61 tip for not even $45 worth of food. It's $60 in total. It's $45 worth of food, but there's a $6.75 delivery driver fee and a $5 delivery fee in general. So they broke it down in a very unusual way, plus the sales tax, which is an extra $15 on top of the $45, which is why it adds up to $60.85. But you only received $3.61 for this order, right? In terms of the actual tip. That is almost a 6% tip. And with the other video with Panera Bread stealing $15 of a $20 tip, that's about the same ratio, 1% difference, but the ratio is about right. Because 20% tip is $12.17. Divide that by 4, you have a little bit over $3. That kind of math checks out. And if you don't know what we're talking about in terms of what happened with Panera and Chipotle, we actually did a video on that recently. I will leave that video in the description. Feel free to check that out. But a lot of these restaurants tend to operate in very similar ways anyway, which is why you see a lot of shady things that are happening here, and some of which are actually very illegal. I feel like the delivery driver and delivery fee are two separate junk fees that shouldn't have been there to begin with. Unless this $6.75 for the delivery driver was literally supposed to be the tip and they just didn't include it as the tip, because then they just literally stole from Magnus like that. And keep in mind, Magnus was only paid $3.61 for this tip. Although I will say, I am rather impressed with your Although I will say this, your earnings tab, you get the breakdown of Uber's fee summaries. I don't get that breakdown, at least I don't think so. Yeah, I just went into my phone to see the breakdown, and all I see are my earnings and the tip. I can't go any further down. And that was for an order I did today as of this recording. So I'm impressed that you actually got that. So I don't know for certain if they stole from you, but it definitely looks that way. What is that $6.75 for the delivery driver that you were supposed to receive? And was it supposed to go to you? Probably was supposed to go to you, and they probably misled the customer to believe it was. Now, other than the unbelievable amount of hate comments that I get about tipping culture and everything else, that there are some comments that are being made that are really messed up in my opinion to see what is actually going on. To be fair, the customer isn't necessarily tipping the $20 to the driver. They are tipping Panera for receiving the order, making the food, and getting it delivered. That's probably what's actually occurring. No! That is not what's happening at all. They're paying for the service. They're tipping the driver for delivering it. We have been trying to explain that separation, and you're just confusing the whole thing. Oh, that is embarrassingly terrible of a comment. And if Red Lobster is actually justifying it that way, that's really messed up. I wonder if that's why they're having us take photos of receipts now at some places. Ooh, that's a good point. Oh, that is a really good point. You're smart. That is actually some 5-brain moves right there. They're trying to catch these people using white label programs in the act. Oh, that would be some legendary stuff if they did that. What? This is a shame. Going back to cash tips only for the hardworking DoorDasher and Uber driver. I hate that this stuff is actually causing that. Because here's the thing, like, this is exactly what we were talking about when tip theft was actually a thing, when DoorDash was doing it before they changed the pay model to what it is. What it used to be is where DoorDash would kind of pool the tips and then kind of use the tips to kind of subsidize the base pay, but then when they asked the driver, hey, did you get the full tip that I intended to give you? They said, what did you pay? And then the numbers just didn't match up, and the customers were just as upset as the drivers were. That's when customers and drivers had the best relationship, because we worked with each other. Now it's the opposite of that, where everyone's at each other's throats just to actually get something done. All you wanted was your food, and now these companies are making it so much harder for you. But going back to cash tips only is only going to have drivers decline it over and over again. You're gonna get cold food, and then you're gonna get upset when the DoorDash and Uber drivers are not actually delivering your food, when in reality, in their mind, they're seeing a no-tip order, but what you intended was to actually tip your driver. Now, could this also be a no-tip customer pretending to be a tipping customer just to make some arbitrary point to justify why they don't tip on the app? Possibly. But taking it at face value, if you go back to not tipping on the app, you're not going to get your order. It's just how it is. The real solution here is not to go through the websites that these restaurants provide and go straight through the platforms if you get your order delivered at all. This is why there should be a law that all payment information should be transparent. No games with tips. Absolutely. Out of all of the laws that the gig economy is literally going against right now, especially with today is the new law that Biden just put in place, should be taking effect today. I don't know if it's actually going to affect the platforms, but this is what is being implemented today. There should be a law that says all payment information, all information where money is going from the customer to the supposed company for the service that they're providing, should be fully invoiced and fully transparent on every single thing. Because these games are stupid. Like, why do we have to play these stupid games to make sure that we're getting the payment that the customers intend to give to us? This is my opinion. It's worth what you pay for it. None of you pay me. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna be as straight with you as I can in terms of the order itself, making it a double and whatnot. I don't think you should have taken the order, being that it was a $5.60 some odd cent order, even $6, especially for that mileage. What the heck is that? Like $15.05 for 10 miles is already a push for me. $15.05 for a double, I wouldn't have taken that by any means. Second, Red Lobster has a lot of crap going on with it to where some locations you cannot work with them. It is just irresponsible to do so. I mean, just look at what happened here. They're literally charging for a delivery driver, assuming that's the tip, and then keeping some of the tip themselves.
But Joe, the workers in there aren't getting paid enough either. What about them? Aren't they supposed to be paid properly?
Sure, with the people that they work with, not with the driver. That's a completely different conversation. That's one of the arguments that a lot of these restaurant managers have. Like, they want to use the money that they're supposed to pay us to pay for their waiters and waitresses to subsidize their pay, as opposed to paying for it themselves. Because that's how the system works. And if the waiters and waitresses aren't being tipped enough, either they're not providing the service that they're supposed to be providing, or something's wrong with your customer base. And if that waiter or waitress is in a place where the customer base is that bad, maybe they should go to a different location entirely. Oh, but you don't want that because you would rather them work hard for you, assuming they're working hard at all. I remember going to my Red Lobster and the waiters and waitresses were absolute trash, but that's not the point. The point is, now you're literally condoning theft because you're the one committing it from drivers who actually have expenses they need to pay for their business. It is so bad that this is a normalcy now. All in all, if this is happening with Red Lobster, that they're stealing the tips from drivers, or they're charging customers and not passing any of that charge to you, you can't pick up from that location anymore. It is irresponsible to continuously allow the abusive nature of these restaurants by continuing to provide them with your service. If you guys also want to email me about something that is happening within the gig economy or something that's just happening near you, my email is drivenwyld@gmail.com. Feel free to email me there. And who knows, you may get a shout out in a video as well. And if you don't want me to shout you out, just request for it to be anonymous. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.